A millionaire threw his poor black wife out after an argument. She won $100 million the next week. My husband's diamond cufflinks caught the lightning the same moment he told me to leave, and I swear the universe was taking notes. There I was, drenched in rain and humiliation, my yellow dress clinging to shame, Isaac crying in my arms, believing I'd lost everything, except I hadn't checked my email in 3 days. But in my inbox, 8 words waited like sleeping angels ready to wage war on my behalf. You are the selected winner of $100 million. 100 million reasons why the man who threw me away was about to learn the most expensive lesson of his privileged life. 100 million ways to prove that my worth was never tied to his last name or his zip code. The grant wasn't for being his wife. It was for being myself, the woman who showed up, who believed in something bigger, who kept her dignity even when he tried to strip it away. The question burning in the storm wasn't whether I'd survive being discarded like yesterday's newspaper. It was whether Grant could survive watching the woman he deemed worthless become the most powerful force he'd ever underestimated. Because the universe had been taking notes. And darling, redemption was about to arrive with interest that would make his millions look like pocket change. What happens when the trophy wife you discard becomes the queen you can't afford? When the woman you threw into the storm returns as the lightning itself. Some mistakes cost more than money. Some doors, once slammed, never open again, no matter how hard you knock. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to the beginning, to the moment I first believed the lie that love and luxury were the same thing. The mansion had 32 rooms. I counted them once during those early months, when I still thought exploring Grant's world meant I belonged in it. 32 rooms, and somehow I never found one that felt like mine. Not really. The master bedroom smelled like his cologne. The kitchen belonged to Marguerite, the chef who barely spoke to me. The library was his sanctuary. The nursery, well, that became my prison disguised as purpose. You can live in a palace and still feel homeless. I learned that truth slowly, the way you learn you're drowning, one breath at a time until suddenly you realize you've forgotten how to float. Grant swept into my life like a hurricane in a tailored suit. I was 25, working double shifts at a community center in Brooklyn, running after-school programs for kids who reminded me of my younger self, hungry for more, fighting against a world that kept telling us we were less. He showed up for a charity photo op his company was sponsoring, smiled at me across a room full of children's laughter, asked me to dinner that same night. 6 months later, I was Mrs. Grant Whitaker, and everyone told me I'd won the lottery. The wedding was in the Hamptons. My mama cried through the entire ceremony, but I couldn't tell if it was joy or warning. My sister whispered in my ear during our dance, "Just don't forget who you are, Alicia." I laughed it off. I wore a dress that cost $43,000. I drank champagne that tasted like liquid gold. I believed I was Cinderella, and midnight would never come. But midnight always comes, beloved. Always. The first microaggression arrived wrapped in compliment paper during our honeymoon in Santorini. Grant's college friend Marcus joined us for dinner, uninvited but apparently expected. Grant always did have exotic taste, Marcus said, raising his glass toward me like I was an art piece to be appraised. "You're absolutely stunning, Alicia." Like, stunning. The emphasis made my skin crawl, but Grant just laughed, squeezed my hand, and changed the subject to stock portfolios. I should have said something. I should have corrected Marcus, corrected Grant, corrected the entire trajectory of what was coming. But I smiled instead, the way I'd learned to smile through uncomfortable moments my entire life. I sipped my wine and told myself love required patience. The charity galas became my stage and my sentence. Grant would parade me through marble ballrooms in designer gowns I didn't choose. His stylist picked everything, down to my underwear. "You represent us now," he'd remind me while adjusting my necklace in the car. Us. As if I'd dissolved into his identity, a satellite orbiting his sun. At these events, I was introduced with the same script. This is my wife, Alicia. Isn't she gorgeous? Never. This is Alicia, who runs youth programs and dreams of opening literacy centers across underserved communities. Never. This is the woman I love because she's brilliant and compassionate and fights for people who can't fight for themselves. Just gorgeous. Just wife. Just ornament. His mother, Patricia Whitaker, was a masterclass in elegant cruelty. She never raised her voice. She never had to. Alicia, darling, had you considered straightening your hair for the foundation luncheon? It photographs better. Alicia, sweetheart, maybe skip the dessert. You know how the camera adds pounds. Alicia, dear, when you speak to Grant's colleagues, remember to let them lead the conversation. Men in this circle appreciate feminine mystique, not opinions. I stopped offering opinions. I straightened my hair. I skipped dessert. I shrank myself down, compressed my spirit into something small enough to fit into their world without causing disruption. And Grant? He watched it happen like a director satisfied with his actress finally nailing the role. The isolation crept in like fog. My friends from Brooklyn stopped calling after I canceled on them the 5th, 6th, 7th time because Grant had surprise plans or his mother needed me at some luncheon, or there was always something more important than maintaining the relationships that actually fed my soul. My mama visited once, walked through that mansion like she was touring a museum, touching nothing, saying little. When she left, she hugged me at the door and whispered, "Baby, you can come home anytime. You know that, right?" I told her I was home, but I was lying to both of us. The mansion was Grant's kingdom. I was the queen he displayed, never the woman he respected. Every room echoed with his choices, his taste, his legacy. The art on the walls? Purchased by his grandfather. The furniture? Selected by his interior designer. Even Isaac's nursery. I wanted warm yellows and oranges, colors that felt like sunshine and hope. Grant hired someone who did it in navy and cream. More sophisticated, he said. More Whitaker. I gave him everything. My love, poured out in morning coffees made exactly how he liked them and midnight back rubs after stressful deals. My time, spent managing his social calendar, hosting his colleagues, playing perfect wife for his business partners. My body, carrying Isaac through a difficult pregnancy while Grant attended conferences in Dubai and Singapore, sending roses, but never presents. And when Isaac arrived, perfect, beautiful, with my eyes and my mama's spirit, I thought maybe this would be the thing that finally made Grant see me as essential rather than accessory. But even motherhood became another performance. Make sure he's quiet during the investor dinner. Don't bring him downstairs when I'm working. Can't Marguerite handle bedtime? I need you at the evening cocktail reception. I was slowly being erased from my own story, becoming a footnote in the grand narrative of Grant Whitaker's empire. The community center, work I loved? Maybe take a break, focus on family. The literacy program I'd dreamed of launching? That's admirable, but let's be realistic about your time. My voice. Alicia, sweetheart, I think you're being a bit emotional. Emotional. That word became his weapon of choice. Any feeling I expressed that didn't align with his vision got labeled emotional, dismissed as hormonal, reduced to irrationality. My loneliness was emotional. My frustration was emotional. My desire to be seen as more than decorative was, you guessed it, emotional. The mansion had 32 rooms, but not one of them held space for the real me. And the cruelest part? I kept trying to fit, kept trying to shrink, kept trying to be enough for a man who'd never actually wanted a partner. He wanted a trophy that could bear children and look good in photographs. That final argument wasn't really about money. It was about me finally asking to be seen, to be valued, to matter beyond what I could do for his image. And he responded by handing me a suitcase in the rain. Turns out, even my womb, even Isaac, our son, wasn't enough to make me irreplaceable in Grant's eyes. I was disposable, a beautiful accessory that had outlived its usefulness. A queen displayed but never respected, paraded but never honored. That mansion was never mine. And I was never Grant's equal. I was his possession. Until the moment I wasn't anymore. He watched me cry like it was a show. Like he had front row seats to my unraveling. I'll never forget the way Grant stood there at that upstairs window, backlit by the chandelier in his bedroom, looking down at me through the rain-streaked glass. Not helping. Not calling me back. Just watching. His face was blank, almost curious, like he was observing some fascinating experiment in human degradation. How long would she stand there? How broken would she look? Would she beg? I didn't beg. But God, I wanted to. The suitcase felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds as I dragged it down the driveway, one arm clutching Isaac, the other trying to control luggage that kept catching on the cobblestones. Designer cobblestones. Imported from Italy. Grant told me that once, proud, like the origin of rocks mattered more than the woman walking over them. I made it to the sidewalk before my legs gave out. Just collapsed right there on the concrete, Isaac wailing against my chest, my yellow dress plastered to my skin like a second layer of shame. The storm outside was biblical, sheets of rain so thick I could barely see the street. But the storm inside me was worse. It was the kind of hurricane that destroys everything you thought was solid ground, leaving you floating in wreckage, grabbing at pieces of a life that doesn't exist anymore. Cars passed. Headlights swept over us like searchlights, illuminating my humiliation in high definition before moving on. Nobody stopped. Why would they? This was the Upper East Side. People didn't stop for crying women on sidewalks here. They called the police to have them removed. Isaac's cries turned into hiccups, that heartbreaking sound babies make when they've exhausted themselves. I rocked him automatically, muscle memory kicking in even though my mind was somewhere else, somewhere dark and drowning. Sho, baby. Mama's here. Mama's got you. Lies wrapped in comfort. I didn't have him. I didn't have anything. Not even an umbrella. My phone had died an hour ago, battery drained from the 17 unanswered calls to Grant during our argument. 17 times I'd tried to reach him before he came downstairs with that suitcase. 17 chances he had to choose us. The phone sat in my soaked pocket now, useless as my pride. A couple walked past, young, beautiful, her laughing at something he whispered. They had matching umbrellas. They didn't even glance my direction. I might as well have been invisible. Funny how quickly you can disappear when you're no longer wrapped in wealth and standing beside the right man. I don't know how long I sat there. Time does strange things when you're in shock. Could have been minutes. Could have been an hour. The rain started to let up, not stopping, just easing into that steady, depressing drizzle that feels like the sky giving up rather than finishing the job. That's when I saw the payphone. Yes, they still exist. This one was on the corner, probably hadn't worked since 2005, covered in graffiti and peeling stickers. But I stumbled toward it anyway. Isaac somehow asleep now despite everything, his little face peaceful against my shoulder. The receiver was sticky. I didn't want to think about why. But when I lifted it to my ear, I heard the most beautiful sound in the world. A dial tone. I called collect. My fingers remembered my sister Jasmine's number, even though I hadn't dialed it in 2 years. Shameful, that. 2 years of being too busy playing mansion wife to call the woman who braided my hair and taught me how to fight back when boys in the neighborhood tried me. You have a collect call from. The automated voice paused for me to say my name. Jazz, it's Alicia. Please. I need you. My voice cracked like broken glass. 3 seconds of silence that felt like 30 years. Then, where are you? I don't even know. Outside Grant's place. On the street. Jazz, I'm coming. Stay on the phone. Stay right there. I can't, it's a payphone. Then go to the corner store. You remember? The one on Madison where we used to get candy when Andy brought us to the city? Go there. I'll meet you. 20 minutes, Alicia. Can you hold on for 20 minutes? I wanted to say no. Wanted to say I couldn't hold on for 20 seconds. But Isaac shifted in my arms, made that little humming sound he does in his sleep, and I found myself nodding even though she couldn't see me. Yeah, I can do that. And Alicia? Her voice softened, broke a little. Come home, sis. Just come home. The walk to that corner store was 3 blocks, but felt like 3 miles. My feet were numb. My arms screamed from carrying Isaac and dragging luggage. People stared now, really stared, because a soaked black woman in a designer dress carrying a baby and a suitcase through Manhattan at night was either entertainment or threat, depending on their prejudice. The store owner, Mr. Kim, somehow still there after all these years, took one look at me and disappeared into the back. Returned with a towel and a bottle of water. Didn't ask questions. Just nodded toward the plastic chairs by the window and said, "You sit. You wait." I almost broke down right there from that simple kindness. Jasmine arrived in 16 minutes. I counted. She burst through that door like an avenging angel in a Knicks hoodie and bonnet, mascara running from tears she'd been crying the whole drive. She didn't say a word, just wrapped me and Isaac in her arms and held us while I finally let myself fall completely apart. "I got you," she whispered into my soaked hair. "I got you, Alicia. Let's go home." Home. The word felt foreign. Home was supposed to be that mansion. Home was supposed to be with Grant. Home was supposed to be the life I'd built over 6 years of trying to be enough. But as Jazz loaded my suitcase into her beat-up Honda, and I buckled Isaac into a car seat she somehow already had installed, I realized home had never stopped being the place I left. The small apartment in Crown Heights where Mama still lived, where my childhood bedroom still had my track ribbons on the wall, where the radiator still clanked and the neighbors still played salsa too loud on Saturday nights. We pulled up just after midnight. The building looked smaller than I remembered, paint peeling, front steps cracked. But the light in Mama's window was on, golden and warm, and I could see her silhouette pacing behind the curtain. She must have heard Jazz's car because the door flew open before we even reached the stoop. Mama stood there in her nightgown and slippers, hair wrapped, face creased with worry and love, and something that looked like relief. "Baby girl," she breathed. I climbed those stairs, the same ones I descended 6 years ago in a designer suit, telling myself I was moving up in the world, and fell into my mother's arms. She smelled like shea butter and the lavender lotion she'd used my entire life. Home. She smelled like home. "He threw us out, Mama." I sobbed into her shoulder. "He just threw us away." She pulled back, cupped my face with both hands, looked at me with those eyes that had seen me through every heartbreak, every triumph, every moment of becoming. "You still got your soul," she said, firm and certain as sunrise. "That man took a lot, but he didn't take that. You still got your soul, Alicia. Now, let's figure out how to use it." Inside that small apartment that night, Isaac asleep in my old bedroom, Jasmine making tea in the kitchen, Mama rubbing my feet while I sat on the couch I used to do homework on, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. I felt like myself again. Broken, yes. Devastated, absolutely. But mine. Finally, completely mine. And in my coat pocket, my phone slowly charging on Mama's counter, an email waited. Unread. Unopened. Patient as destiny. Sometimes blessings don't knock. They send an email. 2 days after the worst night of my life, I sat in my childhood bedroom at 6:47 a.m., unable to sleep for the 48th consecutive hour. Isaac was finally resting peacefully in the bassinet Jazz had borrowed from her coworker, his tiny chest rising and falling with the rhythm of innocence. He didn't carry yesterday's trauma into today. I envied him that. My phone glowed in the pre-dawn darkness, fully charged now but somehow heavier than before. 17 missed calls from Grant's lawyer. 43 text messages I couldn't bring myself to read. 3 voicemails that all started with Mrs. Whitaker, even though I was about to become Ms. Monroe again, if I'd ever really stopped being her. I should have been checking those messages. Should have been preparing for whatever legal warfare Grant was mounting. But instead, I found myself scrolling mindlessly through my email, that numb thing you do when your brain is too fractured to handle real tasks. Bills I couldn't pay. Promotional emails from stores I couldn't afford anymore. A message from the country club reminding me about an event I'd never attend again. Then I saw it, buried in my junk folder between spam about weight loss pills and a fake inheritance from a Nigerian prince. Congratulations, Alicia Monroe. My thumb hovered over the delete button. Another scam. Had to be. The universe didn't send congratulations emails to women who'd just been discarded like trash. The universe didn't reward the broken. But something, instinct, desperation, maybe God himself nudging my hand, made me click it instead. The email opened. I had to read the first line 3 times before my brain would process the words. Dear Ms. Alicia Monroe, it is our profound honor to inform you that you've been selected as the recipient of the Silver Oak Women's Empowerment Grant in recognition of your extraordinary dedication to community service, volunteer work, and advocacy for underserved populations. My heart started doing something strange. Not quite beating, more like stuttering, like it forgot its rhythm. I scrolled down, my hands beginning to shake. This grant, valued at $100 million, $100 million US, is awarded annually to one woman who exemplifies. The phone slipped from my fingers, bounced once on my childhood comforter, the same purple one with faded stars I'd slept under as a teenager dreaming of a different life. A better life. A life that looked nothing like the last 2 days. $100 million. I scrambled for the phone, nearly knocked over the lamp Mama kept on my nightstand since I was 12. Read it again. The words didn't change. They were still there, solid and impossible and real. Your volunteer work at the Silver Oak Women's Shelter, your mentorship program for single mothers, and your advocacy for educational access in marginalized communities has touched countless lives. Your nomination came from multiple sources who witnessed your consistent dedication, compassion, and leadership. I couldn't breathe. Literally could not pull air into my lungs. My chest felt tight, like someone was squeezing my ribs from the inside. At 8:47 a.m., I couldn't wait any longer. My fingers dialed before my brain could talk me out of it. The phone rang once. Twice. 3 times. What if it was fake? What if this was some cruel joke? What if? Silver Oak Foundation. This is Margaret speaking. How may I help you today? The woman's voice was warm, professional, real. So real I almost burst into tears again. My name is Alicia Monroe. I received an email about a grant. I know it's early, I'm sorry. I needed to know if it's real. Please tell me it's real. Ms. Monroe. Margaret's voice lifted with genuine excitement. Oh, honey, we've been hoping you'd call. Yes, it's absolutely real. Can you verify your email address and confirmation code for me? I rattled them off, my voice shaking so hard I had to repeat the numbers twice. Perfect, Margaret said, and I could hear her typing. Alicia Monroe, recipient of the 2024 Silver Oak Women's Empowerment Grant. $100 million. Congratulations, sweetheart. You earned every penny. My knees buckled. I slid down the wall, landing hard on the floor, phone pressed to my ear, making sounds that were half laughter, half sob. Isaac woke up, started to fuss. I crawled over to him, pulled him from the bassinet, held him against my chest while my whole body shook. Ms. Monroe? Are you still there? I'm here. I managed. I have a baby. I have my son. We were thrown out 2 days ago. I lost everything and You didn't lose everything, honey. Margaret's voice was gentle, knowing. You're about to find out you never lost the things that mattered. Now let's talk about next steps. Are you ready? Isaac cooed against my shoulder, his little hand grabbing my hair. I looked into his perfect face, my baby, my reason, my everything, and felt something shift inside me. Not healing, not yet. But something like hope. Something like power. Yes, I whispered. Then stronger. Yes. I'm ready. He doesn't know yet, I thought, kissing Isaac's forehead. He doesn't know his mama just became one of the richest women in the country. Doesn't know the man who threw us away just made the most expensive mistake of his life. Doesn't know that sometimes the universe keeps receipts and settles accounts when you least expect it. But one day, I'll tell him this story. I'll tell him about the night we lost everything and the morning we gained more than his father could ever comprehend. I'll tell him that blessings don't always knock. Sometimes they wait in your junk folder, patient as destiny, until you're finally ready to receive them. Funny how fast goodbye turns into come back. The news broke on a Wednesday afternoon, exactly 72 hours after Margaret from the Silver Oak Foundation confirmed that my life had changed forever. I was sitting in Mama's kitchen feeding Isaac mashed bananas when my phone started vibrating like it was possessed. 20 notifications in 30 seconds. Then 50. Then I stopped counting. Jasmine grabbed my phone off the table, her eyes going wide as she scrolled. Alicia. Alicia. You're trending on Twitter. I'm what? She turned the screen toward me. There it was, my face, professional headshot from the shelter's volunteer page, next to a headline that made my stomach drop and soar at the same time. From homeless 200 million, single mother wins unprecedented empowerment grant days after husband abandons her. Oh no, I whispered.
Oh no, no, no.
Oh yes, Jazz corrected, scrolling faster. Girl, this is everywhere. CNN picked it up. Good Morning America wants an interview. And look, she zoomed in on a photo. That's Grant's building in the background. Somebody leaked the whole story. My hands went numb. I didn't want to be a headline. Didn't want my pain packaged as inspiration porn for strangers' morning coffee scrolling. Didn't want. My phone rang. The number I'd memorized 6 years ago, the one I used to call just to hear his voice during lunch breaks when I still believed he missed me too. Grant. I stared at that name on my screen like it was a snake coiled to strike. Jazz saw it too. Her face went hard. Don't you dare answer that. I didn't. Let it ring through to voicemail. 2 seconds later, a text appeared. Grant, we need to talk.
Call me.
Then another. Grant, Alicia, this is important. It's about Isaac. Oh, now it's about Isaac? Jazz's voice could have cut glass. Now that you're $100 million richer, suddenly he remembers he has a son? The phone rang again. Same number. I declined it. He called back immediately. Give me that. Jazz snatched the phone from my hand and answered. Hello. I could hear Grant's voice through the speaker, sharp and commanding. Who is this? Put Alicia on the phone. This is her sister. You know, family? The people who actually show up when someone needs help. Jazz's smile was wicked. Alicia's not available right now. She's busy being rich and unbothered. This is ridiculous. I need to speak with my wife. Ex-wife. Jazz interrupted. Or, did you forget? You threw her out, remember? In the rain? With your baby? Ring any bells? Or were you too busy standing in that window watching her suffer? Silence on the other end. I could picture Grant's face, that muscle in his jaw twitching when someone didn't immediately bend to his will. I want to discuss Isaac's welfare, he said, recovering his composure. Surely Alicia understands that as his father. Jazz laughed. Actually laughed. His father? Honey, fathers don't throw their children out on the street.
Donors do that.
Sperm donors. She paused for effect. But hey, thanks for calling. I'll let Alicia know you suddenly remembered you have a son the exact same day you found out she has $100 million. I'm sure that's just a wild coincidence. She hung up, blocked the number, handed me back my phone with a satisfied smirk. Jazz, he's going to. Let him. She squeezed my shoulder. Let him panic. Let him spiral. Let him feel one fraction of what you felt sitting on that sidewalk. The text started coming from different numbers. His mother, his brother, his lawyer, that one I'd expected. But then his college roommate, his business partner, people I'd served champagne to at dinner parties, people who'd called me gorgeous but never smart, people who'd watched me shrink and said nothing. Everyone wanted to talk now. Patricia Whitaker, Alicia, we should discuss this situation privately. Family matters should remain in the family. Family. The word tasted like poison. They'd never treated me like family. I was the exotic acquisition, the beautiful addition to their dynasty's portfolio. Now, they wanted to claim me? I blocked her too. The flowers arrived that evening. 3 dozen white roses, my supposed favorite, except I told Grant 100 times I preferred sunflowers, and he never listened. The card read, "We need to talk. For Isaac's sake."
Gee.
Mama looked at those roses like they were evidence in a crime scene. "What you want me to do with these?" "Compost them," I said.
She grinned.
"That's my girl." By Thursday, Grant's text had changed tone entirely. The commanding edge was gone, replaced by something that almost sounded like fear. "Grant. Alicia, please. I made mistakes. Can we just talk? Coffee? Grant, I never meant for things to end this way.
You have to know that.
Grant. Isaac deserves to have both parents in his life. Don't shut me out." Jazz read them over my shoulder and snorted. "Look at him. Mr. Pack your bags is suddenly Mr. Let's co-parent." What changed, Grant? Could it be the $100 million? Friday brought the most pathetic attempt yet, a hand-delivered letter on his company's letterhead, sealed in expensive stationery. Jazz opened it while I fed Isaac. She read aloud in a mocking tone. "Dear Alicia, I've had time to reflect on our relationship, and I realize now that I didn't appreciate you the way you deserved. You are a remarkable woman," she paused. He spelled remarkable wrong. Man's a multimillionaire who can't afford a proofreader. "Keep going," Mama said from her spot by the stove, clearly entertained. "I was under tremendous pressure from work, and I took it out on you unfairly. I want to rebuild what we had. I want to be the husband you needed me to be. I want to be present for Isaac. Please give me another chance to show you that we can make this work. Our marriage doesn't have to end this way. Love, Grant." The kitchen was silent except for Isaac's happy babbling as he grabbed at his food. "Love," I finally said. He signed it Love. The audacity. Jazz crumpled the letter. The unmitigated, Caucasian audacity. But I wasn't angry anymore. Somewhere between the roses and the letter, the panic in his texts and the desperation in his tone, I'd moved past anger into something clearer. Something that felt like closure. "He doesn't want me back," I said quietly. "He wants what I represent now. He wants access to the money, the status, the story of being married to the woman who won $100 million. I looked down at Isaac, his face smeared with banana, grinning up at me without a care in the world. He doesn't want to be a father. He wants to be associated with the winner. "So, what you gonna do?" Mama asked. I thought about the plans already taking shape in my mind. The foundation I'd start. The shelter I'd expand. The programs I'd fund. The single mothers who'd never have to sleep on a sidewalk. The kids who'd get scholarships. The women who'd learn they were worth more than any man's last name. I thought about Grant in that mansion, surrounded by 32 empty rooms, finally understanding what he'd lost. And I smiled. "Nothing," I said. "I'm going to do absolutely nothing. He threw us away when we were at our lowest. I'm not giving him access to us at our highest." Jazz high-fived me across the table. Mama said amen like it was Sunday service. My phone buzzed one more time. "Grant, I'm coming by your mother's place tomorrow. We need to settle this in person." I handed the phone to Jazz. She typed a response I couldn't see, then showed it to me. "Try it, and I'm calling the police. You made your choice. Now live with it." She hit send before I could stop her.
Not that I wanted to.
Because the thing Grant didn't understand, the thing he'd never understand, was that I'd already started building something new. Something better. Something that had nothing to do with him and everything to do with the woman I'd been before he tried to reshape me into his image. I was building for me, for Isaac, for every woman who'd ever been told she was replaceable. And Grant Whitaker? He could watch from the outside looking in, just like he'd made me do for 6 years. Funny how fast the tables turn when you stop begging for a seat. I came back to that house, but not for him. The yellow dress had been stuffed in the bottom of my suitcase for a week, wrinkled and rain-stained, smelling like betrayal and sidewalk puddles. Mama wanted to throw it away. "Baby, you don't need that reminder," she'd said, reaching for it with garbage bag in hand. But I stopped her, because I realized that dress wasn't a reminder of my defeat. It was evidence of my survival. So I had it cleaned, professionally pressed. The stains came out easier than I expected. Turns out even the worst moments don't have to leave permanent marks if you know how to treat them right. And on Tuesday morning, exactly 10 days after Grant threw me out, I put that dress back on. It fit differently now. Or maybe I wore it differently. The fabric didn't cling with shame anymore. It draped with purpose. I stood in front of Mama's bathroom mirror, the same one I'd used to practice prom makeup and college interview confidence, and I barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked like me, but stronger, clearer.
Free.
"You sure about this?" Jazz asked from the doorway. Isaac balanced on her hip. My son was wearing the navy outfit from his nursery, the one Grant's designer picked. I dressed him in it deliberately. A reminder of what Grant had, what he'd thrown away, what he'd never get back. I'm sure. I fastened Mama's gold hoops in my ears, the ones she wore to my high school graduation, her success earrings, she called them. I've got a right to my belongings, and he's got a legal obligation to let me collect them. The lawyer I'd hired, Monica Chun, was already waiting outside in her Mercedes. Sharp suit, sharper mind, and a reputation for making wealthy men very uncomfortable. She'd taken one look at my case and said, "Oh, honey, he's going to regret every second of that night." We pulled up to the mansion at exactly 10 a.m., the time Grant's lawyer had agreed to. Monica had insisted on documenting everything, timestamps, witnesses, recordings. "Men like him rewrite history," she'd explained. "We're making sure the truth is notarized." The circular driveway looked different in daylight.
Smaller somehow.
Less intimidating. The Italian cobblestones that had caught my suitcase wheels were just rocks. Expensive rocks, sure. But rocks nonetheless, cold, decorative, ultimately meaningless. I stepped out of the car in my yellow dress and my mama's earrings, and I swear the morning light hit me like a spotlight. Isaac cooed from his stroller, which Jazz was pushing. Monica walked beside me, her heels clicking against those cobblestones with the sound of incoming justice. The front door opened before we reached it. Grant stood there in casual clothes, rare for him. Jeans that probably cost more than Mama's monthly rent, a button-down with sleeves rolled to his elbows like he'd been doing hard work, which we both knew he hadn't. His face did something complicated when he saw me. Shock? Regret? Fear? Good. He should be afraid.
Alicia.
My name sounded strange in his mouth, like he was testing whether he still had permission to say it. His eyes traveled from my face down to the yellow dress, and I watched him remember. Watched him see me standing in the rain, broken and discarded. Watched him realize I was wearing his shame like armor. "Mr. Whitaker." Monica stepped forward, extending her hand with professional coldness. "I'm Miss Chun, Ms. Monroe's legal counsel. We're here to collect her personal property as outlined in the agreement your lawyer signed." Grant shook her hand automatically, his executive training kicking in, but his eyes never left me. "Alicia, can we talk? Just for a minute? Alone." "My client is here to collect her belongings, not to have conversations," Monica said smoothly. "Shall we?" He moved aside, and I walked into that house for what I knew would be the last time. The foyer felt like a museum now. Beautiful, cold, untouchable. The chandelier Grant's grandmother imported from France cast the same crystalline light across marble floors. The same abstract painting his mother chose hung on the wall. The same everything that had never been mine was still not mine, would never be mine. And I felt nothing but relief. Isaac's things are mostly in the nursery, I said, my voice steady. Professional. My personal items are in the bedroom and the guest closet. This shouldn't take long. Jazz pushed the stroller past Grant without acknowledging him. Monica produced a detailed list from her briefcase. And I walked up those stairs, the same ones I'd descended as a bride, the same ones I'd climbed pregnant and exhausted, the same ones I'd never climb again, with my head held so high it could have touched heaven. Grant followed at a distance, hovering like a ghost in his own house.
Alicia, please.
I know I messed up. I know I said things, did things that were unforgivable. But we can work through this. We're a family. I stopped on the landing, turned to face him, and for the first time since that night in the rain, I really looked at him. Saw him clearly, without the filter of love or hope or desperation. He looked smaller than I remembered, older, tired in a way that had nothing to do with sleep and everything to do with the slow realization that money can't buy back what arrogance throws away. We were never a family, Grant. We were a performance. You were the leading man, and I was the prop that made you look good. I paused, letting that sink in. But props don't have feelings. Props don't have dreams. Props don't win $100 million grants for actually making a difference in the world. His jaw tightened. That's not fair. I loved you. You loved what I represented. There's a difference. I continued up the stairs. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have things to collect. The bedroom felt alien, like visiting a stranger's home. Had I really slept here? Had I really spent 6 years staring at that ceiling, telling myself tomorrow would be different? Tomorrow he'd see me? Tomorrow I'd be enough? Jazz was already in the nursery, efficiently packing Isaac's clothes while he played with his toes in the stroller, oblivious to the revolution happening around him. I could hear her muttering under her breath, "Navy and cream. Sophisticated."
Boy, bye.
I opened my closet, full of dresses Grant's stylist chose, shoes for events I'd never attend again, jewelry that came in boxes, but never with love. I took only what was truly mine: the bracelet my grandmother left me, the photo album of my family, the journal I'd hidden in the back where I'd written my real thoughts, my real dreams, my real self. You're not taking any of the designer clothes? Grant appeared in the doorway, confused. Those aren't mine, I said simply. They're costumes for a role I'm not playing anymore. Alicia, his voice cracked. Actually cracked. I was wrong. About everything.
I see that now.
I see you now. I zipped up my bag and turned to face him one last time. The problem, Grant, is that you only see me now that I'm worth something in your currency. You see the money. You see the headlines. You see the status. I walked toward him, and he actually stepped back. But you never saw me when I was serving breakfast at the shelter. You never saw me when I was tutoring kids after your business dinners. You never saw me when I was holding Isaac at 3 a.m. while you slept. You only see value when it comes with a dollar sign. That's not I didn't, he fumbled for words. This man who'd built a fortune on his ability to negotiate, persuade, dominate. I brushed past him into the hallway where Monica was doing a final sweep of the guest room. Jazz emerged from the nursery with 2 bags of Isaac's things, the handmade blankets from my baby shower, the books I'd picked out, the stuffed animals for my family. Nothing Grant had chosen. Nothing with his cold touch. We descended those stairs together, a small army of women who knew their worth. Grant followed, his footsteps hesitant, echoing in the cavernous space like a heartbeat of regret. At the front door, I paused, looked back one last time at 32 rooms of empty luxury. Then I looked at Grant, really looked at him, and I felt something unexpected.
Pity.
You threw me out in the storm, I said quietly. Isaac giggled from his stroller as if punctuating my words. You handed me a suitcase and watched me break. You thought that was the end of my story. Grant opened his mouth, but I wasn't finished. Now watch what I do with the lightning. I walked out into the sunshine, my yellow dress bright as a promise, my son laughing, my sister by my side, my lawyer's heels clicking triumph against Italian stone. Behind me, I heard the door close. Not slammed this time, just closed. Final. Complete. And I didn't look back. Because queens don't return to kingdoms that never deserve them. They build empires instead. I don't just have money. I have purpose. The building stood on the corner of Malcolm X Boulevard and Hancock Street in Brooklyn. 3 stories of red brick and broken windows, tagged with graffiti that told stories of a neighborhood that refused to be forgotten. The real estate agent kept apologizing for the condition, calling it a fixer-upper with potential, in that careful voice people use when they're trying not to say something's a disaster. But I saw something different. I saw my empire rising from these ashes. I'll take it, I said, and watched her jaw drop. Ms. Monroe, perhaps you'd like to see some other properties? I have several listings in Manhattan that might be more suitable for someone of your resources. Translation: someone with $100 million shouldn't want a broken-down building in Brooklyn when they could afford a penthouse in Tribeca. But she didn't understand. This wasn't about what I could afford. This was about what I could build, what I could become, what I could give back to the community that raised me, the streets that shaped me, the women who looked like my mama and my sister and me. This is perfect, I said, running my hand along the dusty brick. This is home. I closed on the building 3 weeks later, hired a contractor who'd grown up 6 blocks away, employed local workers who needed jobs. And while they restored the bones of that building, I started building something even more important, a foundation that would change lives. The Monroe Whitaker Foundation. Yes, I kept his name. Jazz thought I was crazy. Why give him that? She demanded, pacing Mama's kitchen like a lawyer building case. He doesn't deserve to have his name attached to something beautiful. I'm not keeping it for him, I'd explained. I'm keeping it as a reminder. Every time someone sees that name, they'll know it wasn't his money that built this. It wasn't his vision. It wasn't his heart. It was mine. I'm taking his name and making it mean something it never meant before: generosity, purpose, real change. And maybe, just maybe, every time he heard it, he'd remember what he lost. The Foundation's mission was simple: uplift, empower, transform. But the work was everything. I created the Black Women Business Initiative, grants up to $50,000 for Black women entrepreneurs who had the vision but not the capital. The first recipient was a woman named Shanice who'd been trying to open a soul food restaurant for 7 years, saving every penny from her nursing job, only to be denied by 16 different banks. When I handed her that check, she cried so hard she couldn't speak.
She didn't need to.
Her tears said everything. I launched the Single Mother Sanctuary program: housing assistance, childcare support, job training, mental health services. Everything I'd needed that night on the sidewalk, everything I'd been lucky enough to have through Mama and Jazz, I made available to women who had no one. The waiting list grew to 300 names in the first month. 300 women who'd been thrown away by men who thought they were disposable. We were going to prove them all wrong. I established the Daughters of Tomorrow Scholarship, full rides to college for girls from underserved communities who had the grades and the dreams, but not the privilege. The first year, we funded 23 scholars. I met every single one of them, looked them in the eyes, and told them, "You deserve this. Not because of where you came from, but because of where you're going." One girl, Amara, 17 and brilliant, told me she'd been sleeping in her family's car while maintaining a 4.0 GPA. "I just want my mama to be proud," she whispered. "Baby," I said, "your mama is already proud. Now, Let's make sure you're proud of yourself. I hired a team that looked like the communities we served, women who'd lived through struggle and come out stronger, who understood that poverty isn't a character flaw and trauma isn't a weakness. My COO, Dr. Patricia Williams, had been a teen mother who put herself through medical school. My director of programs, Keisha Jackson, had survived domestic violence and rebuilt her life through sheer determination. These weren't just employees. They were warriors building a movement. We moved into that renovated building 6 months after I signed the papers. The red bricks shine now, windows replaced with glass that caught the morning sun like hope crystallized. Inside, we created something that felt like home and revolution combined. Warm meeting spaces, a childcare center, computer labs, a commercial kitchen for our culinary training program, offices that hummed with the energy of women determined to change the world. The day we opened, over 500 people showed up. News cameras, community leaders, the very women we existed to serve. And me, standing at a podium I never imagined I'd occupy, looking out at faces that reflected my own journey back at me. My name is Alicia Monroe. I began, and my voice didn't shake. 6 months ago, I was thrown out of a mansion in the rain with my baby in my arms and a suitcase of broken dreams. I thought that was the end of my story. The crowd was silent, leaning in. But it was actually the beginning. Because that night, I learned that your worth isn't determined by who keeps you or who throws you away. Your worth is inherent. It's in your blood. It's in your fight. It's in your refusal to stay down when the world tries to break you. Applause started to ripple through the room. This foundation exists because I refused to let rejection be my final chapter. Because I believed I deserved more. Because I knew that if I could rise, I could help others rise too. I paused, finding Mama's face in the crowd. She was crying, proud tears that made my own eyes sting. We're not just giving money. We're building legacies. We're creating futures. We're telling every woman who's been told she's worthless, you are priceless. You are powerful. You are purposed. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. I held Isaac on my hip, now almost a year old, clapping along even though he didn't understand, and I felt something shift in my chest. This was why. This was the reason the universe had handed me $100 million. Not to buy mansions or cars or revenge, but to build bridges out of my pain and invite others to cross over to something better. The interviews came next. Good Morning America, The Root, Essence Magazine. Forbes wanted to feature me in their 30 Under 40 issue even though I was 31 because, as the editor said, your impact transcends arbitrary age limits. I sat for those interviews in blazers that I chose, speaking words that were mine, telling a story that couldn't be edited or erased. And every single time they asked about Grant. Do you ever regret the marriage? Do you think he regrets losing you? Would you take him back if he changed? I smiled at those questions now. Early on, they'd made me angry. Now they just felt irrelevant. I don't regret the marriage, I'd say. It taught me who I am. It showed me who I'm not. And it gave me Isaac, who is the greatest gift of my life. Then I'd lean forward, making sure the camera caught my eyes. But would I take Grant back? Never. Because I've met the woman I was always meant to be, and she doesn't need a man's validation. She needs purpose. And I've got that in abundance. I walked into boardrooms where I'd once been invisible as arm candy and returned as the woman writing the checks. I sat at tables with philanthropists who used to compliment my dress and now asked my opinion on economic policy. I spoke on stages at conferences where I'd once stood silently beside Grant and now commanded standing ovations. And every time I looked in a mirror, whether in my new brownstone in Brooklyn, or in a hotel bathroom before a keynote speech, or in the reflection of my office window overlooking the neighborhood I was helping transform, I saw her. The woman Grant never truly met. The woman he'd married but never knew. The woman who'd always been there, buried under his expectations and her own desperate attempts to fit.
But the world was meeting her now.
And they loved her, the real her, the powerful, purposeful, unapologetic her. I wasn't building an empire from ashes to prove anything to Grant Whitaker. I was building it to prove everything to myself. And to every woman watching, wondering if she could rise from her own ruins. Yes, beloved, you absolutely can. Watch me show you how. He came to win me back. But I wasn't a prize, I was the storm. The Plaza Hotel ballroom glittered like a constellation had descended from the heavens and decided to party in Manhattan. Crystal chandeliers refracted light across walls draped in midnight blue and gold. The foundation's colors, chosen because they reminded me of Brooklyn sunsets and the dignity of women who shine even in darkness. I stood at the entrance in a gown that made the yellow dress look like a prologue. This one was custom, emerald silk that moved like water, designed by a black woman I'd funded through the business initiative. She'd cried when I commissioned it. "You're giving me my big break," she'd said. I told her, "No, sis. You earned this. I'm just opening the door." Isaac was home with Mama tonight, probably demolishing a bowl of mac and cheese and practicing his new words. He'd started saying "Mama Strong" last week, and I nearly collapsed from the beauty of it. Out of the mouths of babes. "You ready?" Jazz appeared beside me, stunning in royal purple, her natural hair twisted into an elaborate crown. She'd been my rock through everything, the planning, the permits, the late nights when I doubted myself. Tonight was her victory, too. "I was born ready," I said, squeezing her hand. "Let's show them what resurrection looks like." We descended the stairs together, and the room erupted. Not polite charity gala applause, real applause, the kind that comes from people who've witnessed transformation and want to celebrate it. Cameras flashed like lightning, capturing this moment, this woman, this absolute refusal to stay broken. The room was full of my people. Shanice, whose soul food restaurant now had a 6-month waiting list. Amara, the scholar who'd slept in a car, now thriving at Columbia University. Dr. Williams and Keisha, my team, my sisters in purpose. Single mothers wearing gowns donated by our Dignity program, their children in the venue's childcare suite, finally getting a night to feel like royalty. And men who finally saw me. Not as Grant's wife, not as decoration, but as Alicia Monroe, architect of change, builder of empires, woman who turned pain into power and shared it with the world. I worked the room like I'd been born to it, because I had been. This version of me had always existed. She'd just been waiting for permission to emerge. I hugged women who thanked me through tears. I listened to stories of businesses launched, degrees earned, lives rebuilt. I posed for photos with girls who said, "I want to be like you when I grow up." "Baby," I told one 10-year-old named Zara, "you don't want to be like me. You want to be exactly like yourself, but braver." The keynote speeches began. City council members praising the foundation's impact. A senator who'd grown up in Brooklyn talking about economic empowerment. Dr. Williams presenting our year-end numbers. Over $15 million deployed, 237 women directly assisted, immeasurable lives touched. Then it was my turn. I approached the microphone in my emerald dress, feeling every eye in the room on me. A year ago, this would have terrified me. Now I owned it. "Good evening, beautiful souls," I began, and the room settled into attentive silence. A year ago, I stood in the rain with my baby and a suitcase, believing my life was over. Tonight, I stand before you in a ballroom, surrounded by proof that endings are just beginnings wearing disguises. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. This foundation exists because of every woman who was told she wasn't enough. Every mother who was discarded. Every dreamer who was dismissed. You are my inspiration. Your resilience is my fuel. Your success is my joy. I paused, letting emotion surface without apologizing for it. We're not just changing individual lives. We're rewriting the narrative about what Black women deserve, what single mothers can achieve, what happens when you give people opportunity instead of judgment. The applause built like a wave, crashing over me in affirmation. So tonight we celebrate. We dance. We honor the fact that we're still here, still fighting, still winning. I raised my glass. To every woman who refused to stay down. To resurrection. To us. To US, the room thundered back. I stepped away from the microphone, my heart full, my purpose clear. Jazz met me with champagne and a hug that said everything words couldn't. The DJ started playing, Beyoncé, naturally, and the dance floor filled with women who deserve this joy. That's when I saw him. Grant stood by the bar, looking like a man who'd wandered into the wrong dimension. He wore a tuxedo that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent, but somehow he looked diminished. Smaller than I remembered. Out of place in a room celebrating everything he'd never valued. Our eyes met across the ballroom. He lifted his glass slightly, half greeting, half surrender. Then he started walking toward me. "Oh, hell no," Jazz muttered beside me. "It's okay," I said, surprising myself with how calm I felt. "I've got this." He approached with the careful steps of a man crossing a minefield. "Alicia, you look incredible." "Thank you." I didn't return the compliment.
Didn't owe him that.
"Could we talk? Just for a moment? Please?" I glanced at Jazz, who looked ready to physically remove him. "5 minutes," I said. The terrace. We stepped outside into the November cold. The city sprawled below us, millions of lights representing millions of lives. I'd once felt small in this city, overwhelmed by Grant's world. Now I felt like I owned the skyline. "I don't even know where to start," Grant began, his breath visible in the cold air. "Then don't." I crossed my arms, more from cold than defensiveness. "Say what you came to say." He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous gesture I'd never seen before. Grant didn't do nervous. "I made a mistake. The biggest mistake of my life. I let you go and he stopped, swallowed hard. "I miss us. I miss what we had. I miss you." There was a time when those words would have destroyed me, rebuilt me, saved me all at once. Now they just felt hollow. "You miss us?" I repeated, letting the words sit in the space between us. "Grant, there was no us. There was you and your empire, and there's me trying to make myself small enough to fit into the margins of your life. That's not fair." "It's completely fair." My voice was gentle but firm, steel wrapped in silk. "You miss having a beautiful wife on your arm. You miss the idea of family without doing the work of being a father. You miss controlling the narrative." I stepped closer, and he actually stepped back. "You don't miss us. You miss controlling me." "Alicia, please." "I've changed." "Maybe you have," I interrupted. "Maybe losing me taught you something about value and respect and actually seeing people. I hope it did. I genuinely hope you become the man some other woman deserves." I paused, making sure he heard every word. "But that woman will never be me again. Because of what I did. I know I hurt you. Because of who I've become." I smiled, and it was genuine, kind even. "I've met myself, Grant.
The real me.
The woman you married but never knew. And she is magnificent. She is powerful. She is purposed. And she doesn't need you to validate her existence anymore." He looked stricken, like I'd physically struck him. "What about Isaac? He needs his father." "Isaac needs consistency, presence, and love. If you can provide that, we'll arrange something through lawyers. But Isaac doesn't need a father who shows up because his mother became too successful to ignore." The terrace door opened. Jazz stuck her head out. "Alicia, they're about to announce the scholarship recipients. You're needed inside." "I'll be right there." I turned back to Grant one final time. "I forgive you. Not because you asked for it, but because holding on to anger would weigh me down, and I've got too much work to do. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It just means I'm free. I walked toward the door, toward the light and music and celebration. Toward my life. Alicia, Grant called after me. I paused but didn't turn around. You're right. About all of it. And I'm sorry. Truly sorry. I know, I said. And I walked inside. The gala continued for hours. I danced with my team. I hugged scholarship recipients. I posed for photos that would appear in magazines next month. I laughed until my face hurt and cried happy tears when Shanice dedicated her restaurant success to me. And when I finally got home that night, after checking on Isaac sleeping peacefully in his crib, after removing the emerald gown and wiping off the makeup, after standing in my bathroom looking at the woman in the mirror, I realized something profound. I slept like a queen that night. Not because I was rich, though the money helped. Not because I'd faced Grant and won, though that was satisfying. I slept like a queen because I was free. Free from needing his approval. Free from chasing his version of love. Free from believing my worth was tied to anyone's perception of me. Just free. And in the morning, I'd wake up and build more.
Help more.
Love more. Live more. The storm had passed. And what remained was sunshine, purpose, and a woman who finally recognized her own reflection. That was the real victory. That dress he left me in? I wear it now like armor. The brownstone sits on a tree-lined street in Bed-Stuy, 3 stories of honey-colored brick with a stoop that catches the morning sun just right. It's nothing like the mansion. No imported marble, no 32 rooms, no chandeliers that cost more than people's homes. But it's mine.
Truly mine.
Every brick, every window, every creaking floorboard that sounds like music when Isaac runs across it. This morning, I'm wearing the yellow dress again. It's become something of a ritual now, this dress. Once a month, I put it on and sit on the front porch with my coffee, watching Brooklyn wake up. The fabric has been cleaned and pressed so many times it's softer now, more forgiving. Or maybe I'm the one who's become softer. More forgiving. More whole. Isaac is 14 months old today. He toddles around the porch in his little overalls, chasing a butterfly that keeps landing just out of his reach. His laughter is pure sunlight converted to sound. Every giggle feels like proof that joy can grow from the hardest soil. Mama, he says suddenly, turning to me with those eyes, my mama's eyes, generations of resilience reflected back. My heart stops, restarts, overflows. Yes, baby? I scoop him into my lap, this miracle who kept me breathing when I wanted to disappear. What is it?
Nana.
He says it again, more insistent, patting my face with sticky fingers that probably found something sweet in the kitchen when I wasn't looking. Mama here. I laugh and cry at the same time, the way mothers do when their children remind them why they survived. Yes, baby. Mama's here. Mama's always here. He settles against my chest, content with this confirmation. A year ago, I'd held him this same way in a storm, believing we had nothing. Now I hold him in sunshine, knowing we have everything that matters. The street is waking up around us. Miss Johnson from next door waves from her window, where she's been watching the neighborhood for 43 years. Morning, Alicia. That boy getting bigger every day. Morning, Miss Johnson. He's eating me out of house and home. She laughs, a sound like church bells. This is what community feels like. Not champagne toasts with strangers who know your dress size but not your dreams. This, neighbors who bring you soup when you're sick, who watch your kid when you need 5 minutes, who celebrate your wins like they're their own. My phone buzzes with notifications I've learned to manage. Interview requests. Speaking invitations. A message from Dr. Williams about the Lagos office plans. We're opening next month, bringing the foundation home to my ancestral roots. Another message from our scholarship coordinator. 3 more girls just got accepted to their dream schools. This is what purpose looks like. Not perfectly curated, not always glamorous, but real. Concrete. Transformative. Jazz's car pulls up. She's taking Isaac to the park so I can prep for tomorrow's board meeting. She bounds up the steps in sneakers and a t-shirt that says, "Black girl magic is not a metaphor." There's my favorite nephew. She scoops Isaac up, blowing raspberries on his neck until he shrieks with delight. Then she looks at me in the yellow dress, and her expression softens. "You good, sis?" "I'm perfect," I say, and mean it completely. "You know what today is, right?" I nod. 1 year ago today, Grant handed me a suitcase in the rain. 1 year ago, my life ended and began in the same moment. 1 year ago, I believed I had nothing. "Yeah," I say quietly. "I know. You want company? I can bring Isaac back later. We can order Thai food, watch terrible reality TV.
No.
I squeeze her hand. "I'm good."
I want to sit with this.
"Honor it. Celebrate how far we've come." She kisses my forehead. "You're the strongest person I know, Alicia Monroe." "I learned from the best," I tell her, watching her load Isaac into the car seat with the ease of practice. He waves at me through the window, yelling, "Bye-bye, Mama," like he's heading off to war instead of the playground. I wave back until the car turns the corner, then I settle into my porch chair, the yellow dress spreading around me like petals. The sun climbs higher, warmer. No storm clouds today. No rain to wash away or mock or baptize. Just clear blue sky and the gentle certainty that I survived the worst and became better because of it, not despite it. My neighbor's son, Marcus, rides past on his bike. He got a job last month through our workforce development program. "Looking good, Miss Monroe," he calls out. "You too, Marcus. Don't be late for work." Never that. His laughter trails behind him like hope on wheels. This is what winning looks like. Not mansions or revenge or proving anyone wrong. Just this. A yellow dress in the sunlight, a son who knows his mom is always here, a community that lifts as it climbs, and a woman who finally understands that her worth was never up for debate. I think about Grant sometimes. Can't help it. He's Isaac's father, and we've established a co-parenting arrangement that's civil if not warm. He sees Isaac twice a month, supervised at first, now gradually building trust. He's trying. I give him credit for that. But we're not friends. We're not family. We're just two people who once shared a life and now share a child, navigating what that means with lawyers and boundaries and the understanding that some doors, once closed, stay closed. I heard he's dating someone new. Patricia mentioned it casually during a pickup, probably trying to gauge my reaction. I'd smiled and said, "I hope she makes him happy." And I meant it. Not because I'm a saint, but because his happiness or lack thereof has nothing to do with my peace anymore. My phone rings. It's Mama.
Ma.
"Baby, you sitting in that yellow dress again?" I laugh.
She knows me so well.
"How'd you guess?" "Because you do it every month like clockwork, like some kind of meditation." She pauses. "You all right?" "I'm better than all right, Mama. I'm free." "Yes, you are, baby. Yes, you are." I can hear her smile through the phone. "You coming for dinner Sunday?" "I'm making your favorite. Jollof rice and plantains? With a pepper sauce that'll make you cry." "Wouldn't miss it. I'll bring Isaac and Jazz. Bring that big head lawyer of yours too. Monica. She needs to eat. She's too skinny." I laugh until my sides hurt. "Mama, Monica weighs more than me. Still too skinny. All that stress, fighting for people. She needs some meat on her bones. Tell her I'm making enough for everyone." We talk for a few more minutes. Just life, just normal, just the beautiful mundane details that make up a real existence. When we hang up, I sit in the silence for a moment, grateful for a mother who taught me that success isn't about how high you climb, but how many people you bring with you. The yellow dress shifts in the breeze, and I remember that night. The rain, the betrayal, The absolute devastation of believing I'd lost everything. I remember thinking my story was over, that being thrown out was the final chapter, that I'd never recover from the shame of it.
But that wasn't the end.
It was the beginning. My story isn't just about winning $100 million, though, honey. Let's be clear, that money is changing lives every single day. My story is about rising. It's about reclaiming every piece of myself I gave away trying to fit into someone else's vision. It's about learning that you can lose everything except yourself, and if you hold on to that, you can rebuild bigger and better and more beautiful than before. It's about standing in the rain and choosing to become the lightning. Isaac's laugh echoes from somewhere down the street. Jazz must have stopped at the corner store for candy. That sound is everything. That sound is why I survived. I look down at the yellow dress, this garment that witnessed my destruction and now witnesses my resurrection. It's just fabric and stitching, nothing magical. But I wear it like armor now, like a reminder, like a promise to every woman who's ever been discarded.
You are not what happened to you.
You are what you do next. The foundation is expanding to 10 cities next year. We're launching a national mentorship program. We're building affordable housing for single mothers. We're creating a venture capital fund specifically for Black women entrepreneurs. We're rewriting the rules about who gets access and who gets left behind. And I'm leading it all. Not as Grant's ex-wife, not as the woman who got lucky, but as Alicia Monroe, architect of her own destiny, builder of empires, woman who turned her pain into purpose and shared it with the world. My phone buzzes again. Another message. This one from Amara, the scholar. Ms. Monroe, I just got accepted to Harvard Law. Thank you for believing in me when nobody else did. I text back through happy tears. I didn't make you brilliant, baby. I just helped you shine. Go change the world. And she will. They all will. Every woman we touch, every girl we fund, every mother we house, they're all going to rise and lift others as they climb. That's the real legacy. Not the money. The movement. The sun is fully up now, warming my face, blessing this yellow dress one more time. Isaac comes running back up the steps, Jazz following with a juice box and an apologetic smile. He wouldn't leave without saying hi to Mama again, she explains. Isaac crashes into my legs, hugging them with the force of complete love.
Mama.
Mama home. Yes, baby. I whisper, picking him up even though he's getting too big for this, too heavy for this, but never too loved for this. Mama's home. And we're never leaving. I look out at my street, my neighborhood, my Brooklyn, the place I left chasing a fairy tale and returned to discovering I was the magic all along. This is where my story ends. Or rather, where this chapter ends. Because the truth is, I'm just getting started. There are more women to help, more systems to change, more girls to show that they don't need a man's mansion to build a queendom. They just need themselves, their courage, and maybe, if they're blessed like I was, a community that refuses to let them fall. The yellow dress catches the light one more time, and I smile. This dress he left me in? I wear it now like a crown. And beloved, let me tell you, resurrection looks damn good on me. The end. To every woman reading or watching this who's ever been thrown out, thrown away, or told she wasn't enough, you are the storm and the sunshine. You are the lightning and the calm after. Your story isn't over. It's just beginning. Rise, queen. The world is waiting for you. The end. Thank you for watching the story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So, do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one. Don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.